Welcome back to me reading Transported a Wings of Fire story. This time it's chapter 37. As usual, if this is your first time watching this little series, I recommend you to watch the previous chapters or read them yourself. Now let's begin. This chapter's name is Karma. The night was cold as the cool wind blew against the group's scales. Further in the distance were the dim lights of the scorpion den. Their black cloaks swayed in the wind as they flew. The group had left a little while ago, but not before getting a brief understanding of the skills Turtle had magically given them. At first, it was weird to just happen to have the fighting skills of assassins, and over again, everyone surprised themselves with what they were able to pull off. Even Kinkajaw, the smallest of the group, managed to pin both Turtle and Keebly at the same time. The surprise and scared everyone to the core, and even made Winter spit out the water he was drinking when he saw them get brawled by her. And that's when she wasn't even going invisible. Wow, this magic really works, Daniel thought softly as he clutched the small piece of skyfire that Turtle had given him in a temporary replacement for the one in his bag at the Scorpion Den. He thought back to definitely the most eventful practice brawl that the group had had before leaving for the Scorpion Den. Me and Kinkajaw's little spar. Multiple scenes flashed through his mind. However, he didn't let himself dive too deep into the scene. It was in the underground lake. At first, it was just a normal, basic spar, as both dragons dodged each other's attacks. They had agreed on no fire or abilities, and just raw fighting. So it came as quite a surprise when Kikajaw suddenly went invisible. It caught Daniel off guard when it happened. However, he did realize that whenever she moved quickly, there was a small, translucent ripple in the air, kind of the ones from when the surface of something is extremely hot and it radiates off. Of course, it was barely noticeable, so it was essentially impossible to see where she was going. She did manage to get quite a few hits in on me at that point, but she made the mistake of trying to attack me from the front. At that point, he was on the edge of the lake when he saw one of her movement ripples. He ducked down beneath her. Her scale shifted colors to purple and orange as surprise overcame her when he was able to predict her movement. Daniel didn't know, but he was sure at least someone was shocked by what they just saw. Although he was visible, Daniel grabbed her by the talon, not too harshly as to hurt her, but enough so he had a good grip. She wasn't able to move properly as Daniel had a grip on her. He pinned her to the ground. So what exactly did we agree on? Daniel said with a smirk. No cheating with abilities of any kind? She responded nervously. And what did you do? She sighed as she saw struggling against Daniel's grip was futile. Cheated by using my abilities. Mm-hmm. Do you know what cheaters get? Daniel asked as his smirk widened. A second chance? Kingajo asked with a shy smile. Daniel shook his head. They get soaked. And with that, Daniel picked her up and chuckled and chucked her into the lake. She squealed something nobody could make out before she fell into the lake with a relatively large splash. She resurfaced with a hilarious, displeased look, which made everyone else laugh. However, soon he was awoken up from his daydream by the sound of Winter speaking to him. So remind me again, what's the point of these things you call code names, Hurricane? Winter asked as he put emphasis on the word code names, while making sarcastic claw gestures. Daniel sighed. They're for communication without giving up our real names, Daniel explained. I seriously don't think this is needed. Aren't we just getting in and out? Winter asked. Yeah, sorry, Hurricane, but I'm with Winter on this one, Pearl said, equally unconvinced about the whole idea of having codenames. Like, in what situation would we need these? When you would want to communicate with one of us, Daniel said. But then I could just say our normal names and risk them knowing who we really are? No! Then they might come for us. Daniel pointed out. He has a point, Winter. And plus, I kind of like the code names, Keebley interjected. That's only because you got a decent one. Mine literally couldn't be any less original, Winter barked. Well, Keebley just snickered. Chill out, Sub-Zero. It's a cool name in my opinion. Keebley laughed, which just made Winter blow frost breath out of his nostrils in annoyance. Like I said, completely non-original, Keebley. Or should I say Scorch, instead, since you seem so happy with that. Winter sighed. Why couldn't it be anything cooler, like hurricanes or Kikajos, or even turtles? Hey, mine isn't that cool, Turtle said, joining the conversation. Oh, please, your codename is literally Karma. That's probably one of the best ones. And Kikajos is a ghost. That's much cooler than my idiotic one. Turtle opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. See? Even he knows it, Winter complained. Oh, just deal with it, Winter. At least yours makes sense, Pearl said. Me, Star, and Moon don't even know what ours mean. Daniel's ears perked as he heard this. Oh, I can answer that, he said casually. Everyone turned their heads to him. Oh, cool. What do they mean? Moon asked. Now, first off, Moon, yours is wolf, correct? Daniel asked to confirm. Moon nodded her head. All right, then. In my dimension, those are animals which are loyal and devoted to family. They're quite shy, but they're good, strong fighters, and quite intelligent. Moon's eyes widened. Oh, neat! Thanks for clearing that up. She seemed quite contented with Daniel's answer. However, Winter just seemed even more jealous to an extent. Oh, come on! That sounds cool! Winter said. Agreed, Keeley said, and was joined by Kikujaw. Yeah, you got such a cool name. Moon looked down shyly. Thanks. Though, what do pearls and stars mean? Oh, yeah, what's ours? Star spoke up excitedly. Winter muttered softly. It's probably better than mine. Daniel shot him a face, but said nothing. Okay, well, your name, Pearl, Phoenix, is an immortal bird from my dimension's mythology, which possesses the power of fire and represents the sun. Sol Invictus. Well, Daniel explained. And Star, your codename, a Deadlock, doesn't mean much in my world, but it represents a sort of blockade in the way of others, which I take as to not letting others get in your way, almost as if you don't let the actions of others have an effect on you. He took a breath of air. That was a mouthful. Everyone seemed content with their codenames, except for Winter, who looked filled with envy. Daniel sighed. Winter, you know your codename doesn't suck, right? Yes, it does, Winter spat. While everyone else gets cool, meaningful ones, mine doesn't mean anything. Daniel sighed again. I know it doesn't mean much to you right now, but you'll know how meaningful it is when it comes to it. Winter scoffed and ignored him. Whatever. I'll deal with the stupid name, he muttered. Sub-Zero. How original. Under his breath. However, then Kikijao piped up. Hey guys, I think we made it. Everyone else looked up to the bright light from the small town just up ahead. The group hid behind a semi-large desert dune, which overlooked the whole Scorpion Den. It was much larger than Daniel initially thought it was. It was significantly larger than a town, but not large enough to be called a city. Daniel overlooked the place, searching for something. However, then Keebley pointed a claw out towards the town. There. Do you see that large building in the distance? Daniel looked further to where Keebley pointed, but then he saw it. Back in what appeared to be the center of the city was a significantly larger building. He couldn't see it properly from where they were, but he estimated it was a circular building, maybe a garden. Maybe it had a garden of some sort. That's the compound. One of the most fortified buildings in the Scorpion Den, lined with traps and landmines. The home of my family, and most importantly, my grandfather, the most dangerous dragon in the city. Keeley finished his small speech, and there was a small moment of silence before it was broken by Daniel. All right, are we ready for this? He looked down at the others, who all nodded. Okay then, don't forget your names. Let's go get our stuff back. Daniel flipped the sickle in his talon, while Keeley adjusted the hidden blade, which was still on his forearm. Sure. Turtle clutched his own weapon in his talon as he looked down at it. Daniel remembered teaching him what it was, and how to use it, while the others were having a friendly spar with each other. He didn't have much time to go over it, but he taught him the name of the weapon and what it did. He explained it was called a sword breaker because of obvious reasons. The smooth, sharp side of the blade was used for offensive use and to attack your opponent. Meanwhile, the serrated side was used to catch and break any blades which got caught in it by bending them. Usually they didn't break the weapon. However, they are very good at disarming the wielder. They never got much practice in, and Turtle said he never wanted to hurt anyone with it. But he knew how to use it properly, which was a good thing. Soon they found themselves on the rooftops of the Scorpion Den, maybe about 2 or 3 blocks away from the compound. Keeley, however, stopped as he analyzed what to do next. What? What's the matter? Daniel asked. We need to split up. There's no doubt going to be some of my grandfather's minions patrolling the area. We'll have a better chance if we take off in pairs and try to find any potential weak spots instead of just barging in there. All right. Deadlock and I can take the left side from the streets. Scorch, you, and Sub-Zero take the right from the streets. Ghost and Karma, you guys can take the left from the rooftops. And Wolf and Phoenix, you guys can take the right from the rooftops. He paused to make sure everyone followed what he was saying. If you find anything that we could potentially use to get in, make a mental note of it, and we'll all meet back here in 10 minutes. Don't try to be stupid and run inside. That's a good way to get caught or killed, or both. All right. Good luck, everyone. We're going to need it here. And remember, don't call anyone by their real name. You don't know who could be watching, Keeley said. It was clear that everyone was put on edge after that, but nonetheless, they decided to be brave as each duo went their separate ways to scout out the area. Star and Daniel both dived down to the darkened streets of the Scorpion Den. It was really just as creepy and sketchy as Daniel pictured it when reading the books back on Earth. The ground was lined with small stone pebbles and golden sand, which looked dark orange compared to the normal yellow color of the day. Burning torches were used to light the way down the dark winding alleyways, which seemed to go on forever. However, what really set him on edge was the fact that he could have sworn he saw dark, shifting shadows moving about within the unlit alleyways. Geez, for a place that supposedly has a lot of inhabitants, it's dead quiet at night, Star whispered. Yeah, this place is really sketchy, Daniel responded. Their steps echoed through the deadly dark alleyways as they approached the large, luxurious compound, which really stood out now that it was much closer up. They were about a block away at most, and Daniel kept a watchful eye on his surroundings. The sickle was hidden within his cloak, which conveniently happened to have a concealed pocket on the inside of it. Honestly, with the way that we're dressed, we'd probably fit right in with any other sketchy dragons doing who knows what at this time of night. They continued on in silence, but that's when Star muttered something to Daniel. Do you hear that? She asked. Daniel listened to the world around him. It was dead silent. Nothing but the sound of the soft breaths to be heard. Not even the wind was blowing just a few moments ago showed up. I don't hear anything. Why? Daniel whispered back to Star. However, she ignored him and instead had a face of deep focus. Someone's following us, Star finally said. Daniel's eyes widened. How can you tell? Just listen. Daniel did as Star said and listened. He didn't speak or have anything on his mind. He just listened as closely as he could. And then he heard it. Right after he took a step, he made a soft tap sound on the stone pathway. Star was the same, but she was in time with him, so there wasn't a second tap from her. However, there was a very faint second tap right after he took a step, and since it wasn't coming from Star, it indicated there was another dragon nearby. Ah, wonderful. Exactly what we needed now. Needed right now. A stalker. Do you hear it? Star asked. Daniel nodded. So what do we do about them, then? Star asked, but Daniel was already ahead of her. You know, Daniel spoke much louder so that the stalker could hear him. You're not very good at following others. They both turned around to face their stalker, who turned out to be 3 dragons instead of 1. They were all sandwings. One of them was quite large and most definitely already an adult, while the other 2 were much smaller and probably around Keebly's siblings' ages. The adult sandwing had a large, brutal scar across one of his eyes, and multiple other ones further down his body. The younger dragons didn't appear to have any. However, they certainly didn't look weak in the slightest. The adult sandwing chuckled. How'd you know? Your talon steps, Star answered. They were out of sync. The older sandwing smiled. Clever. Very clever. Though unfortunately, I don't think cleverness will help you now. Daniel looked at him with a puzzled expression. However, he soon realized that the older dragon couldn't see it because of the hooded cloak. Why do you say that? You're not planning to mug us, are you? Because that wouldn't be very nice. Or wise. The 2 younger dragons by his side chuckled. Dude, you guys are like half our sizes. You're still dragonettes. Don't come at us with your bluff, said one of the younger dragons. Yeah, don't try us. We'll kill you in an instant if we have to, said the other, but the adult interrupted them. Now, boys, what have I told you about making remarks at our victims? The other 2 younger boys groaned and sighed. Sorry, Dad, they said simultaneously. Now Daniel was really confused. Dad, no way, these guys are a family. Then again, Keely's family does run this place. Or does run a place. So honestly, I'm not surprised. Look, we appreciate the talk, but my friend and I need to go and do something now. Plus, we have nothing on us, so there's no point mugging us if that was your plan. He turned to Star, who replied, Yeah, me and Reaper here need to go and have a nice day. And have a nice chat, let's say, with Vulture over there. She pointed a claw to the compound, and immediately 2 of the dragons laughed. You guys are going to the compound? Do you have a death wish? Nobody who goes there and then in there unwelcomed ever comes out alive, spoke the adult dragon. Yeah, you guys are dead meat if you even step near that building, remarked one of the sons. However, one of them, the youngest one, was completely pale. Oh, what did you just say? He spoke. The others looked at him concerningly, while Daniel was confused. Are you all right? Do you need help? Daniel reached out a talon, but instead, the dragon, who was much older than he was, looked at him like he was some sort of demon. The Sandwing took a fearful step back. We need to get out of here, he spoke, as he looked between Daniel, specifically, and his family. Hey, what's it with you? You're normally never this scared. Are you looking at the old wanted posters again? Said his older brother. Yeah, but there's been a new one sent out, he shivered. Okay, but what's the matter? You know Vulture sends one out like every day, essentially, and the bounties are always minimal, like 100 to 1,000 gold. If that, spoke the adult Sandwing as he looked down at his son. Oh no. You don't understand. This one was issued by the Ice Wings. The same copy of it has been sent throughout the whole of Pyria. This has never happened before. What? Show me! Yelled the father, who snatched the parchment out of his son's hand. His face also went pale once he saw the parchment. Daniel and Star stood there until Daniel realized, "Oh, crud! Deadlock! We need to meet up with the others," Daniel said to Star before turning to the trio of Sandwings. "Listen here, you idiots. You've wasted our time here. And if it wasn't for the fact that we need to get back to the rest of our group, you'd be knocked out on the floor right now. So if you could move out of the way, it would be nice," Daniel said to the trio, but none of them was paying any attention to him. Instead, they were all staring at the price of parchment. Sure, whatever. The price of the parchment. Oh yeah, the parchment costs money. In the father's claws, with pale faces. Hello? Can you guys get out of our way, please? Stars tried, but she was soon asked a question by one of the Sandwings. Is it true you destroyed the great ice cliff? Daniel and Star looked at one another. How did you... Daniel snarled, but to his surprise, the three Sandwings soon answered. We're sorry for bothering you. Please don't kill us. We'll be on our way now. Soon, all three of them ran off into the darkness, leaving Daniel and Star puzzled about what just happened. What was that? Daniel expressed. They threatened to kill us and then proceeded to run away? Well, whatever it was that scared them so much was on that piece of paper, Star pointed out. Daniel looked to the ground at where the trio of Sandwings were once standing, and a singular piece of parchment lay face down on the ground. Daniel walked over to pick it up. Daniel walked over to it and picked it up. And then he felt his face go pale and his heart rate increased. It was a wanted poster. A wanted poster issued by Queen Snowfall of the Ice Wings. Wanted. Dead. Alias, Reaper. Description, Skywing. Dragonet, about 6 years of age. Reward, 100,000 gold. There was a clear, drawn photo of Daniel. Luckily for them, there were no colors on the poster, so they couldn't identify what colors his scales were, but it was clear he was a Skywing. Either way, though, he didn't get away with what he did back in the Ice Kingdom. He was now a wanted criminal, and according to those Sandwings, the first one ever to be wanted across the continent. He looked up from the poster to see none other than the gatekeeper staring at him from the darkness. Good job, Daniel. You're already rewriting our story. You're already rewriting your story. He laughed. He disappeared just as fast as he was there. But either way, one thing was for sure. He's right. I've unknowingly rewritten my story. And my story is the story of a villain. He sighed. Let's go back, Deadlock. Let's go, Deadlock. We need to break the news to the others. There's no going back anymore. And with that, the duo leapt into the air to break the shocking news to the rest of their friends. That is the end of this chapter. Except for, as usual, the author's note at the very bottom. Hello, my good readers. I hope you're doing great. New chapter. One again, not as exciting, but hopefully still enjoyed. I'll get the new chapter out when I can. Alright, that's all. Doodle. So, Daniel is now a wanted criminal. There's 100,000 there's 100,000 gold coins for your head alone, Daniel. 100,000 gold coins for me. Can I turn myself in? Yeah, that's all I thought of it. See you next time. Hopefully.